Hey everyone, welcome back to recent releases. Now, I'm doing this again because I kind of like just talking about the movies openly and freely without having to do a lot of editing and stuff like that. So, I hope you'll bear with me and thank you for sticking with me, those of you who have been watching my videos consistently. Now, to get into the spoof comedy genre just a little bit before I talk about this movie, I love spoof movies. I love the Mel Brooks films. I love the Naked Gun trilogy because I did my homework before this movie. I was a little sick and not feeling too good, so I was binge watching a bunch of stuff, and I happened upon Naked Gun trilogy on Paramount Plus. So I watched it to prepare for this one, so I could compare them a little bit and talk about it. Um, and spoof movies in general have not been around for quite a while. There was a period in the early 2000s when they just were not making them as good as they used to, and they kind of died off. Thanks to the internet, that kind of comedy still survived and people still made it. But this is the first time a lot of money has been put into a big budget spoof comedy. And I think there's two big questions about this movie that I'm sure are going to come up. Is one, are people going to be willing to see this kind of movie again if it does well? And then the second question, was this movie funny? And we'll get to those down the line, but or later in the video. So I like a good spoof movie, so naturally I was curious about this movie. I thought the trailers were fine going in, so I was just like, just please be funny. That's all I want is for it to be funny. And so, but before I get into that as well, that question as well, or before I get to that question, let me share the story real quick. So, this is actually a remake. Well, it's a remake, but it's also a sequel to the Naked Gun films. It's in canon with the other ones. And this follows Liam Neeson playing the son of Leslie Nielsen's character, Frank Drebin, as Liam Neeson plays Frank Drebin Jr. And he's trying to stop the bad guys, does what he can for Police Squad, very much like his dad. And Pamela Anderson plays a woman whose brother dies, and that case falls to Liam Neeson, and so he's got to figure out and solve the case. She wants in and wants to help him out, and spoofy shenanigans ensue. And that's really all you need to know about this movie. Now, to answer the question of is this movie funny? The answer is yes. This movie is funny. Do I think it's as funny as the critics have been saying it is? I don't think I could go that far. I think there's about a 60-40 ratio for me when the jokes worked, and then so 60% where they worked, and then 40% where I saw what they're trying to do, but I just didn't laugh. I did chuckle and laugh quite a bit. There were some laugh out loud moments. But I will say that those were kind of few and far between. Like for maybe every like five jokes, maybe one made me laugh out loud and the other four just made me chuckle. It's probably the best way to put it. Um, but overall, sorry, my phone's going off. But overall, I think the movie works perfectly fine. I think that if you like this kind of spoof comedy, you're going to get into this movie and really enjoy it. If you're not really a fan of spoof comedy like the Mel Brooks films or The Naked Gun or Airplane, you're not going to get into this too much. Um, but to address the other thing about this is kind of a big question of our audiences going to be willing to see this stuff again or to see these kind of spoof movies again? And it is a good question because we are seeing a little bit of a resurgence of these kinds of movies. As not only this one's already out in theaters, but Spaceballs 2 is on the way. It's supposed to come out in a couple of years. So it's clear the audience has never left and still wants to see them. But the question of critical and financial success is still there. Of are they going to be well reviewed? Is this movie going to be reviewed well enough and make enough money to warrant more of this kind of movie to be made? And I think that's really the thing It's really hard to tell right now. I mean, the box office can be very hit and miss with certain things. Like Fantastic Four did really well last weekend, but then this weekend it kind of had a steep decline, even though it's a good movie. So you just don't know what the box office is going to be by the end. And it's hard to say if people are just, more willing to see it on streaming and then maybe that's where it'll find its popularity, or will enough people go to the theater to see it to warrant another big budget one to be made? That's hard to say. I mean, I sincerely hope that they do make a comeback. I'd like to see this kind of movie be done again. Even though, from a modern filmmaking lens, it is very tricky. And even with this movie, there are some times where they really try to recapture that feeling of an classic days of old spoof movie. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't quite work just because we haven't been used to seeing it in quite a while. And especially with the advent of modern filmmaking and technology, it's kind of off putting a little bit at times, but it's not bad. But that was just kind of my take on it, or at least that's my take on it for right now. But overall, if you like spoof movies, you're gonna like this Naked Gun movie. And if you're a fan, or if you're not a fan of this kind of stuff, this isn't going to win you over. But for me personally, for what it tried to do and for the jokes that did work 60% of the time, I'm going to give this Naked Gun a thumbs up. I think this is a fun comedy movie. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it if you like this kind of thing. And if you want to see spoof movies make a comeback, go see this movie in the theater. If not, you can wait for it to come on streaming or for it just to come on TV and you can just watch it then. But I guess that's all I got for you guys. So thank you all so much for watching, if you watched the whole video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.